Things might get weird.
Yeah.
Welcome to our life.
Welcome to another episode of the Hewlett House podcast today. Got Hayden and Jessica on the mics.
Whoop, whoop.
I guess the last one we released was with Kyle and Kim, right?
Yep.
So.
Yeah, so now it's just back to us.
Just back to us now.
You're welcome. Or I'm sorry, actually. I know.
Anyway, what was that? Was that your mouth?
Sorry. I just like smiled, and then there was like something there, and so it squeaked it.
Oh, squeaky clean.
What do you do?
Yeah. So it's been a fun week. What have we experienced with? Tell us the woman who has been living vicariously through our daughter this week.
You keep saying that. I'm just so excited. As a mom, you see how hard they work.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, good. Yeah, let's get to the tears early on this one.
So Madi went out to a national competition.
Yeah.
This week. It's her first national competition, which I didn't realize until it was too late that I was like, crap, why am I not here for that? But it's going to work out. Wait for that. So like up until the day before, I was like looking at flights. Can I go? Can I do this? It would have cost way too much money. So, and honestly, children, we've got children.
Yeah.
You know,
I think I just like my anxiety goes to 10. I just need to get better about learning how to
when
work
I'm
and babysit kids. Yeah. I'm like, oh,
no,
crap.
for sure.
Like if,
Yep. I get it. It's my life.
We're going to have to replace you quick if something happens.
Rude.
I'm just saying. Whether it's hire a nanny or I'll just marry the first person I go on a date with.
No.
I'm just teasing.
Please just choose the nanny route.
We'll buy. What do they call that come and live with you? I just talked about a person, but they have those.
Live-in nanny?
Yeah, the live-in nannies, but there's a name for them. I know people that have. I say buy.
Gosh, why
they
can't
pay
I
them a
think of that
salary?
name?
They pay. You work for the company. They pay a salary, and they live in with them.
What are they called?
Someone's listening to this, going, "This is what it is."
You idiots. Anyway, so that's off topic. So
you can buy a nanny, everyone. Just kidding. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Okay, so she went out. She's in Florida. She's still there, actually. But they did this national competition, and they swept it. They killed it. And the reason why it's her first. So she's in 9th grade. So it's her first high school competition for show choir.
Au pair. They're called au pairs.
Au pair.
Sorry. Thank you.
Squirrel.
Anyway.
So she got to go out with her school. They competed. They killed it. And I feel like it's like an underdog story almost. I think it makes it even better because.
How so?
Well, because they have been through so much this year, right?
Do tell.
Their director, they switched directors.
There was some awkward stuff happening.
Well, no, we don't even have to go into that. But the director that was there,
some stuff that went down, and they lost their director, and the mom took over, basically, right?
Yes.
I'm not trying to get in the weeds on it, but I'm just saying,
one of the moms
there has been a huge change this
year. Took over, and took him to this national competition and cleaned the floor. They won almost every award that was given. Majority of the awards, I should say,
went to them.
So cool. They got the best choreography, the best set, and then grand champions. So anyway, it was just really cool to see them work together to rise up and do the thing, you know.
We just created a YouTube channel, but we haven't put anything on it yet. That might be something fun to put on if they'll let us put on that video. Or if someone has it, we can link it in this. Yeah. Someone needs to put it online because their performance was really awesome.
Right now they have it on their personal Facebook page. So if anybody wants to see it, let me know. I can add you to the page or whatever. But I've watched that thing
20 times.
A dozen times.
Yeah. It's about a 20-minute song and dance.
Yeah. It's a medley And
Yeah.
it's a
Show
Wizard of
choir.
Oz.
So cool. Yeah,
Oh my
Wizard of
gosh,
Oz.
it was so good. So good. And Maddie was even talking about how she's like, I didn't even think anybody was singing, like because it's in such a big auditorium
Really?
that it soaks up the sound. So
They couldn't hear the people next to him, you were saying, right? Or
yeah, so
something?
she
Or
couldn't
was
even
saying
hear
that?
anybody. But they won the best vocals. So
Crazy.
I'm like, well, y'all did good.
Yeah.
I get for not being able to hear anybody. So anyway, it was awesome. They did really good.
Yeah.
We're really proud.
She gets up twice a week.
Yep.
We carpool. You usually carpool with her and another mom. Take the kids over to the school. They have to be there by 7:00. So she's up at least on Monday and Wednesdays, like 4:30, 5:00 in the morning, or she tries to. And then she's at the school seriously all day long.
Yeah, and then
Thursday
one
nights-
night they do
Thursday night they don't go early, but they stay late till 8, 9:00 at night. A lot of times, 9:00 on Thursday nights. They don't have school on Friday, which helps. But a lot of times they do competition stuff, or sometimes they'll do prep stuff on Saturdays and whatever.
Fridays sometimes too.
Yeah, so she has worked her guts out.
Yeah.
By the way, good job, Maddie. Well, also I haven't seen your grades this term, but you have hit the honor roll all year so far, which is even more impressive.
Yep.
So we're proud of you, dude. Keep kicking butt.
She's awesome. And then she just called today and said that, so this, I don't know exactly how it works, but this competition is like a precursor to another competition, another one of the national competitions for show choir. This is our first year in the competition scene for show choir, so I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, they just called and said that the school wants to sponsor and help them get to that one too. So
Way cool.
come on again.
Yep.
Bring it on.
Yep. So awesome.
So
Yep.
she's excited.
To say mom's proud is
An understatement.
Jessica's family is way into song and dance and that stuff. My family's just into like butt rock and no, I'm just kidding.
I'm more proud just of knowing what
She has to
they've
explain.
done.
I joke, but she has to like explain it. You've told her you got to explain this stuff to dad because he never did it, so you did.
Yeah. Even just watching them though, I'm like, I mean, I've done it, but not to that level. Not even close.
Yeah.
What
You
they
can
do
tell the
is
way-
like insanity.
Well, you can tell the way they perform it is just awesome. You can
Yeah.
tell they've put a lot of work into it.
Yeah.
It shows, you know.
And they fly people out. Like, I mean, they take
yeah.
it serious. They'll do a boot camp couple weeks before school starts. They'll do a boot camp, fly some like bigwigs in to do the choreography and teach them stuff before school starts. But even then, like they did that this summer, but then with their director leaving, so they did have a basis, but when
Who are
this
those,
new
the
director
people that
came
they
back
bring
in,
Didn't you say they're
stuff,
like
people that
have
work with
been-
like the Disney Channel.
Yeah.
So a lot of people from California.
It's cool.
Many of them, I don't know names, but they did text out. Maddie said that they texted out and said good luck, and
Oh, that's cool. The people that trained him worked with them.
so they they did have like a good like basis start, you know,
Yeah.
with some really professional people and you know
Yep.
good
That's great.
experiences, but they did have to cut. They had to revamp almost 10 minutes of the
Yeah.
of the set too. They had to take out. So anyway,
Yeah.
relearn, redo, revamp. So it was
Cool.
good at
Yep.
that about 4 months. Anyway, so we're proud. She's awesome.
Good job. Well, I this week also, I thought I would give a shout out to a buddy that has, and it kind of goes in line with the question we got months ago
Yeah.
that we never discussed.
Yeah.
Someone sent us a
well,
question.
I kind of felt like we did, but let's go back and let's make sure that we like really hit it head on is really where I'm at.
Yeah. So this week, a buddy of mine, Jacob Hansen, he has a YouTube channel. He's an LDS guy. I actually was his mission trainer in Argentina in the mission. And he and I, to this day, are just like, there's just this brotherhood, I think, with some of these guys. We always called it like worked in the trenches with. And you just learn to, I mean, we're in Argentina at 19, 20 years old. all we had was each other.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, you know. And so
No.
there's this brotherhood that forms, and and it's hard, and you work hard, and you're learning a new language, and there's just a lot of crazy that happens. And so I've always had this freaking admiration for this guy, and he has just been incredible. I called him, he actually made a post on my Facebook this week and just said, shout out to my brother Hayden. And I was like, oh, that was nice. Just out of nowhere, you know. I think it said it was like our 15-year friend anniversary on Facebook. So, excuse me, but so I gave him a call and I just chatted with him for a while, and he has a YouTube channel called Thoughtful Saints, and he's got like 6,000 subscribers now to it.
Yeah.
And he's still a believing member in the church, still goes, and
very smart.
Super sharp guy. He was, I hope this is okay that I toot your horn, Jacob, but he was if I remember right, he had told me on the mission that he was and actually I've heard him talk about this on his podcast actually, so we're good. But he was the president of his high school, and his high school was a Catholic high school as an LDS kid. So he has a really good, diverse perspective, I think, and he talks. I think his perspective. I don't agree with everything, and I don't even like saying it that way. We just see things differently. Yeah. But if you're a faithful person and have had questions, his channel is definitely worth checking out. For sure. And even if you don't believe, and he brings on different pastors and different people and different perspectives, and he has done a pretty good job having hard conversations, with really sharp people. Yeah. And so if you're a believing member mostly, or if you're not, or you want to check him out, it's again Thoughtful Saints on YouTube. His name's Jacob Hansen, and
I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, link him. He's we'll have to put his link in there and everything, but he has about, I think he says there's 8 kids in his family. Oh, yeah. And he's the only one besides his parents that's actually still a believing member. So the reason I actually even am willing to, I guess I have a lot of respect for him, and I know what he has dug into and the information he's looked at. That's why I say, like, when you go through a faith crisis, there's people that still believe and there's a lot of people that don't. But he was someone that I used as a resource as I was having questions. I would call him and have conversations with him, and he was really helpful, and it was nice to talk to him because there wasn't any issue I didn't feel like that he hadn't discovered or read about himself. Yeah, like he knew his stuff on the topic. It wasn't just feelings about it. He already knew everything that I was like just discovering for the first time. Right. And I was like, oh, well, that would have been nice to know probably 20 years ago, but whatever, you know? Yeah. And so it was cool to just, I have a deep respect for people. I think that's why I can have the perspective that I do is I really respect people that have dug into the hard stuff and figured out their faith in it. And I understand their perspective and why, and I just feel really deeply connected on the path that I'm on, as hard as it has freaking been, by the way. I feel like it's where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. And that's what I'm just trying to be true to, is just myself and be genuine to my thoughts and feelings, and yeah. But again, if you want to check him out, his every time I look at his page, he's got like another 500,000 followers. I think he had like 4,500 followers like a couple weeks ago, and now he's got over like 6,000 this morning when I looked. That's cool. Anyway. Cool. Congrats, buddy. Love you, man.
He's awesome.
Yep.
Okay. Well, so we had this question submitted, and I don't know, it might be a little hard, but I think we talked about majority of it. But let's really, I mean, I don't want to say majority of it, but we breezed over it, I guess. So yeah. The question is, did Hayden tell Jess the things and information he was learning? Let's start there.
Yes. For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. I think sometimes you would hold things back for a little bit because you needed to know more. Yeah. Like, there are definitely some shocking things that you would read and you're like, what in the crap? But
there's just like layers to this, peeling back this onion thing, I think, if you go dive into church history and how it all started and what happened and all that stuff. Yeah. That I was just, there's so much that you really, I can sit and tell you stuff, which I did, and you took it really great. That's why I consider myself really lucky. And it's an emotional experience, right? Yeah. So emotional. And I think being able to communicate with you, and then you understanding me, I think the fact that we had been married as long as we had definitely had some.
Yeah, well, and we've known each other since we were 16.
Yeah.
17.
But at the end of the day, yeah, I did tell Jess pretty much everything or most of what I was studying and the challenges and the issues and the questions that I had and what she at least knows, like the big stuff that irks me. Not irks me, but bothers me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the things that I'm just like, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Just don't jive right with you.
Yeah. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I've come to. And I guess in my studies, like, not to get too far down the rabbit hole, but I wasn't afraid to look at both sides.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we talked about, that's probably what we covered a lot was, you know, I think everybody has an agenda. Everybody. So whether you're not believing or you are, everybody has an agenda, even the church and the way they say things and the way they want you to believe. You know, I give the church a lot of credit because I think they do more good than they don't. Could they be a little more transparent with stuff? Sure. You know, but that's the stuff I got to go in and dig in and look at. And of course, all the people that are ex-Mormons are a lot more open with that type of information, but they also have an agenda. And some of them are hurt and they're angry. And so you have to be careful how you're getting that information too. And you just really have to just ponder on it and take it in and not get too emotional and just kind of a day at a time. Yeah. But what were some of your thoughts and feelings about it? I'm curious when I would talk to you.
Well, at first, you know, it feels like, even though I don't think that you necessarily would do it in an attacking manner, it feels like an attack, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like,
I'm sure I did.
Well, I mean, there were times, but I'm saying even if it wasn't a time that you were heated about it, if you will.
Yeah.
It still kind of seems like an attack because this thing that you treasured your whole life, and for somebody to kind of start poking at it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's comes with living in Utah and being around, or not really being poked at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everybody just, for the most part, believed this one way. And even if they weren't living that way, it was still known that this is church.
Yeah.
Is LDS church, not any other form of belief. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying with that? So when it was like, oh,
we live in a bubble in a sense. That there's just that this is what it is. This is what we do, and I think there's an argument to be made that there's people that have issues with it that probably don't bring it up because they're more scared. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to talk about it in general. Like, hey, everybody, like we had a discussion, you and me. I don't know if you can talk about it recently, but where you talked to somebody who talked to a pastor that said faith crises are great. I
forgot to ask her. Yeah.
And I totally, holy crap, is it hard? But because it's hard, I think there is growth in it. And I think that looking inward and looking to God and really studying things out for yourself, not just like reading a verse and praying about it like I did as a kid. You know what I mean? Like really freaking research it, really look into it. Yeah. And not to beat the horse dead after several podcasts now, but like, and everything in life that we do, we try to see both sides of it. And I feel like in the way we were raised, you weren't taught to look at both sides of it. You were taught to look at it this one way. And if you don't get it, just keep asking and keep studying what the church has given you and keep studying that. But what's hard is that, I guess in my studies, I just found like I was running out of resources. And even on our mission, we were limited to things that we could study. They only wanted us to read certain books, right? And now I wonder, like, there's probably more to that agenda than I even realized at the time, you know? And at the time I just took it as, this is what we're supposed to be teaching. So this is what we should focus on.
Right.
But the history and the scriptures and everything at that time was so amazing to me that I was just trying to soak up everything I could and every bit of knowledge, you know? And I wonder if sometimes then it would have been easier to go through some of this, but I think my journey is what it's supposed to be.
And
so.
I know, so this is me. I have learned to just, I don't want to, I just like give people the benefit of the doubt, because you said that they only wanted you reading certain things and there's a reason, right?
Yeah.
And to me,
sure.
I look back and say, okay, I don't feel that, I mean, there's a reason that they want you being focused on God and Christ, or how, so obviously they want you focused on certain things that will lead you to help teach that. Is that how I want to say that?
Yeah. Here's the problem. I know exactly what you're saying. No.
So, because to me, with you're saying we were programmed or we were taught to only read this.
They basically had a list of things that they would like us to stay within the bounds of studying. Like, study these books, don't study these ones. I think I remember.
They had a do not study list?
If I remember right, there was like I can't remember all the books, but like the Principles of the Gospel books. There was like Jesus the Christ, I think, was even one of them. And I feel like maybe Jesus the Christ was okay, but there were just like a handful of books they wanted us to like.
But is there a list that they said not to study?
I'm pretty sure there's a list, and I don't know if someone had a list in your mission, let us know. But I know that I'm pretty sure they were. I remember specifically being like, "Hey, stay in this lane, don't get too far out of the way." And it may be in other missions. Like I was teaching Catholics and evangelists, and most of them didn't know their scriptures super well. You know what I mean? But where if you got on a Bible Belt in America or something, you're going to probably run up against things that you have to be knowledgeable on, or you're going to get caught off guard. Yeah. And so my buddies that I know worked, and they just came across a lot of this, what people call anti-Mormon stuff right up front. And some of it's true and some of it's not, you know? Yeah. So they probably just have to be more well-versed in it. But.
No, I think my point is like, I think my thought started when you were talking about how we grew up and we were told to only do these things. And then if it doesn't feel right, then
just keep asking.
Just keep asking.
Yeah.
And I think that can be taken in multiple ways. Yeah. Right. So for me, it was just mainly, I perceived it as, okay, if it's not leading to Christ, if this decision is not leading to Christ for you, then let's look and see why.
Yeah.
As some people
I think that's
take
because
it
that's
as,
how you choose to look at it. But go ahead.
That's totally fair, and that's my experience. So that's what I'm saying.
Which I think is the right way if you want to have.
But I'm saying my point is that that's the way that I look at it.
Yeah.
And because somebody else perceived it or took it in that, you have to look to the church. That they're telling you to look to the church, not necessarily to Christ.
Yeah.
That's your perception of it. And so I think that that's unfair as well for them to start attacking, saying, no, they said, and I don't know. We can go. This is the problem is I think I look at things differently because I try to give everybody grace at this point.
Well, what was the other part of the question that they asked? So yes, we did communicate, and yes, we went over a lot of the issues. Some of them we dug in deeper on, and some of them we didn't. What was the last half of that question?
Well, there's two parts. So then the second question is, if so, how did she handle learning those things? And this is how I handled it.
Yeah.
As I just tried to open it up to all options.
Yeah.
Right? My core belief is that people are good and people want to do good.
In general, yeah.
In general.
I would totally agree.
And so I try and look at things that are brought up as, okay, did they do this on purpose to be sneaky or to try and get ya? Or, or is this something that they just didn't overthink, if you will, or think enough about. That
it was just the best decision because it was.
The best decision right then.
Yeah, not because they were trying to hide anything.
Yeah, or not because they were trying to, not,
and honestly,
not that they're trying to get you, but they're just trying to.
Maybe that was a bad example. I think mostly, honestly, even on the mission, I took it as like, they probably just want us to stay within our lane. Like I said, they just want us to stay in the lane of like, hey, you're teaching these principles. This is what people need to know if they're going to get baptized. And it's a complicated process, but it's not, but it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's like, hey, it's interesting. Sorry, this is just a little side note, but maybe tangent, but a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know why people have historical issues with the church or whatever. But guess what? The first freaking lesson that you teach as a missionary is based on the history of the church and how it started. The hard part is like, you're just giving the gravy train answer in response of like what it is. Whereas like, if you really spend time in the history of it, it's not what you're totally teaching, I guess. And so for someone that I get both sides of it, like, hey, keep it simple, sweetheart, right? The KISS principle, like there is so much truth to that. But it's also like on the other hand of like, hey, if this is as big of a change in their lives as we are trying to make it out to be, shouldn't there be some more time and not just like a 6-8 week process on like making people make such a life-changing, life-altering decision? And shouldn't they know more about how this functions? And I don't know.
Well, and my thought on that is, okay, yeah, for sure.
You know.
But what's the church's responsibility in that, and what's parents' responsibility in that too, right? Or the individual's responsibility. We all need to take accountability in that, right? I know that they do like a mission prep, and
In what?
they'll do
In knowing
knowing
the information,
what you're teaching,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I went to the MTC and did a month in the MTC and was just ready to go. Well, I hadn't even read the Book of Mormon yet, and that. I'm like, but to me, I'm like, that's a personal choice.
Yeah.
That you have
Totally.
to take responsibility for. Yeah, you went and preached, and you didn't know, but that wasn't like, whose fault is that, right?
Mine.
Just Hayden's, actually. Not anybody else's.
Yeah, at least for my life,
I'm just
you know,
teasing.
and that's why, honestly, like, that's why I don't hold any, there's no hard feelings to be had for anyone, because I don't regret any of it. It was just
Right.
the way that life panned out and the way that it worked. And is it hard? Yeah, it's freaking hard. You can decide whether you want to keep this in or not. But just like last week, I was talking to somebody, and I have been in, like, to get really personal here, I've been in like this funk for like the last 6 to 9 months that I'm like, I'll call it like pretty much a freaking depression, like just in this dark hole of like the freaking sky is falling, the world's in chaos. It's part of the reason I deleted TikTok and Twitter and stuff like that, because I'm just like, I'm not finding any peace or happiness here. It's not like, at the end of the day, it's giving me more anxiety than it's helping me.
Yeah.
And it's totally helped. Like, I just, like, little changes, anything I can make to get crap right in life, right? Sorry, did we address the question okay before I jump here?
Well,
your perspective is,
how did I handle learning the things? And really, honestly, it just came down to the way that I took the information on. I had to put up a wall, not a wall, but like a thing saying, this is not a personal attack, right? Because at first I felt like it was. And I had to understand, this is not a personal attack. This is him and his feelings in the changes with his studies.
Yeah.
He's feeling a certain way. Like, we've talked about it before. You went through the grief process.
Yeah.
And that was very real.
Yeah.
And so, as hard as it is to try and just support and stuff, even on me, that's my role right then, was to sit and support and to let you have that moment. And then that's how marriage works, right?
Yeah.
There's times that you're the support, and there's the times that you need the support. And so at this time I was the support, and I just let you talk.
Yeah.
Because that was important for you to let things out as well.
Which is so mature of you, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 36. I hope I'm mature at this way. No.
I just think I just know.
No,
I read
I know
stories
it's
all the time.
not.
It breaks my heart to see that family, like the spouse, the husband or the wife, are just like they put up that wall of shutdown, like they're all like, they're lost. I can't do this anymore.
Well,
That's how
because it's
powerful
hard.
religion is. Yeah.
It's hard if you don't make the boundary for yourself, or the barrier of saying, this is not personal.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Don't make this about me.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was able to do that because I had that experience of just love him through it, treat him like, and tried to see him through, or see you through God's eyes, like how God would be perceiving you in the situation.
Yeah.
Then maybe I don't know that I would have had that come to Jesus with myself and been able to have that perspective. I don't think it's unfair.
I think it helped that you knew my journey was sincere, that it was genuine.
For sure.
And that I was really
it wasn't
trying
like
to do
an out.
It
was not a scapegoat.
Totally. And that, and we've said this before, it'd be easier just to be in it a lot of time and not deal with the mess. But, again, like, holy cow, the growth I think that I'm starting to see through it, even 5 years later after this stuff, has been crazy. Yeah.
So you kind of skimmed over. So,
but sorry, but
oh, yeah.
before we jump, Were you still making a point
I
on
was
this?
just going to say with Chrissy's thing, the faith crisis thing.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Say it, and if she wants you to take it out.
So I had somebody tell me the other day that they were talking to a chaplain, right? Is that what they call him?
Yeah, I think so.
And so he is over religion in the Air Force on their base, whatever.
Yeah.
And so she was talking to him about faith crises and stuff like that. And he specifically said that I hope that everybody goes through a faith crisis.
Yeah.
Was pretty much the basis, because that is where you'll grow and really dig in and see what you believe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I love it. Right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of been my whole thing in general is I don't like faith crisis. Because, yeah, I mean, there's crises there, but more of a faith transition, and where you're transitioning to really dig into you and how you fit with your being. How, I don't know. Because some people don't believe in God and Christ, and so I don't want to say how you fit with God necessarily, but how you fit and feel at peace in you and your being.
Yeah. Well, I think I just came to the conclusion personally, this is my personal strong belief, is that there is a God, and he understands me very well.
Yeah.
And I know I have things to learn still, and that's why I'm just trying to be just open-minded and teachable and study, and I'm trying to be... I think who he wants me to be is probably, I try to put my faith into him, that's where I'll be the happiest.
Yeah.
And so it's hard because a lot of this, you kind of find a lot of friction because you're like, okay, I know this is kind of going against everything that I have been taught my whole life, but being at church to me I don't feel good there anymore, really. Like it, and that's, it's getting easier for me to say because I think that I strongly believe that there is more than one way to Christ and more than one way to God and more than one way to happiness. And we're all so very different that, yeah, there's things in life that just make sense and that work, and we should follow those things. But I think the journey of life and faith and everything itself is very, very personal. And the more outward we look instead of looking inward, I'm learning this slowly, the easier it is for us to get lost. And so I think we really need to dig into who we are ourselves and follow what we genuinely feel deep down.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure what that is, it's probably good to take a little time out and just
dig in. Look in.
Yep. Look inward and ask questions and see and trust, confide in the right people that you think can help you. But I think when we've talked, you've called yourself a progressive Mormon. I think, don't let me speak for you, but I think that's some of your sentiment as well, that there is more than one way to God, and that the church is a great path for people that find joy and peace and love in it, you know?
Yeah.
And you kind of mentioned this earlier, but people in at least in Mormonism, I think it's probably this way in a lot of faiths, it's hard to differentiate with them, like, what's the difference between God and the church? Like, they're almost used together, right?
Well, yeah,
like as
but
one.
To be
and
fair,
to me, they're totally different.
But to be fair, because this is, like, as for me growing up, this was my vessel to God in Christ.
Yeah.
So I can see how people have issues when deciding to step away from the church, how God in Christ can be a problem as well. Right? Because this was the vessel that taught me about God in Christ. Yeah. Well, if this vessel is not true, then is God in Christ true? I mean, it naturally has to be the next question. Yeah. In my opinion. Yeah. And so I don't think it's unfair for you to question, or I'm not saying you personally, but for somebody in the situation to question that. And again, that might lead you to know that they're not, and it might lead you to yes, that they are, but just digging in and leading to what you believe and you feel. I feel like we're here on this earth for a very specific reason. Yeah. And part of it is learning that crap the hard way. Yeah. Either way.
I guess, like, this is going to sound a little crazy, but I guess I just have this question of, like, hey, let's just assume everything in the early history of the church is totally right. Okay, let's assume Joseph Smith saw God in Jesus and that he was told to start a church and a religion, whatever. I don't think that experience, if he really had that experience, is unique and only for him. Only for him. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, there
only
might be,
for him in the sense that
that was his journey. That was what he was supposed to do. But is that what you're supposed to do? Is follow that, or can you have your own God in Christ journey? Can you? I don't think it. I don't like. I think he did a lot of great stuff and a lot of crazy stuff and whatever. But like, I think that's all of us. Like, I don't think that any one person in this world that's ever been born is better than anybody else. You know what I mean? We all have different talents and we're all uniquely blessed. And we kind of talked about this with Kim and Kyle. Like, I really think everybody has a story to tell. Yeah. And I think especially like in our church, we
glorify.
Yeah. There's a term for it, but yeah, we glorify these people that have lived before us. Like they're just these amazing people, but guess what? So are you. Yeah. So are you. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And I think we can get lost in just like looking outward and looking out to other people that they have just as many imperfections as you and me do.
For sure.
And they have just as many talents as you or me do, you know?
Yeah.
And I was actually talking to a friend about a week ago or a couple weeks ago, having a similar conversation with them. And it was such a cool conversation because I'm like, this is getting super personal, but I go, man, I have because I mentioned that I've kind of been in like this funk, just kind of this depression. And I feel like I'm slowly coming out of it, which I think makes it easier to talk about now. And it got dark for a minute, dude. Like it was hard. And I just haven't felt like myself. And I think this freaking, it's probably let's call it a midlife crisis because that's probably freaking what it is, right? I got a daughter that's turning 16 this year. I got young kids, and I'm just like, I've had this message lately that like, I think we're just supposed to enjoy this journey more. And I'm so good at complicating it and making it such a shit show. And I've opened up to a few friends. Sorry. I've opened up to a few friends, and I've told them that I'm like, dude, I have struggled lately. And their response to me is, so am I. And I'm like, this sucks. Yeah. Like we have so much to be grateful for, and we're so blessed. This isn't what it's about. We're not supposed to sit and stress about all this bullshit. There's too much good in our family and in our life. And yeah, there's challenges, and it's hard, and we're all going through stuff, right? Yep. And I think it's okay to express that and to let it out and to talk. And what's been cool is like, I guess because I can't just shut the hell up. I think it's helped me just to talk to friends and then hear them say, so man, I have been in the same boat. It's been such a struggle for me lately. And I think we're so inundated with bullcrap in this world. And I found myself like, I'm talking to this friend of mine a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, man, I keep like wanting to go to church, but then I get there, and sorry guys, if you're a believing member, that's okay. I go there, and it's like, for me, it's really hard to be there, and it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. I have a relationship with God in Christ that I feel very comfortable and confident in. I think God knows me, and he knows my heart, and I think he and I are tight, and that's where my faith is right now. That's how I'm keeping grounded. And I said, man, and I get there, and I'm like, even sometimes I want to go. I'm like, what do I hear today? Even though I don't believe in everything that it's being taught, like, what can I hear today that's going to inspire me? Yeah. And his response to me was, man, you and me and everybody, our whole lives with our education system and with the religion we were born and raised in, have been taught to look outward. And we're all looking outward, and we need to be looking inward. And that hit me so hard, like a ton of bricks. I was just like, he is so right. Like I'm following this journey because it feels good, but I feel lost at the same time. And I know it's easy for people to say, well, yeah, he just needs to come back and just needs to do this. But I know that's not right now, at least for you, where I'm supposed to be. And I feel really good about where I am, but I'm just like, it is so hard. And then as we're going to these classes with Kyle and Kim and talking about like becoming more self-aware, I'm just realizing that I'm like this 40-year-old guy that I need to become and be more self-aware. And that there's these personality tests. And I'm like, I really am starting to believe, like, in our country and in our world, there is just this like self-identity crisis that we're all freaking lost. We're all looking outward. We're looking at everybody else. What is everybody is looking to their neighbor and looking at someone else to just like feel something, to feel normal or feel accepted. And that is not going to make you happy and bring happiness. And so even if it's hard, even if it's against everything externally for you, I guess my only little message here today is look inside and follow really, really follow your heart. Follow what feels right and feels good to you. And if you need help, reach out to us. If you don't have anybody else, we're here.
Yep.
You can call us.
I love you.
We love you. And sorry, I didn't mean for it to go this crazy and deep today, but I think that he was so right that I just looked, I think the reason I said I don't hold any grudges against my family, I think, or anybody for putting me in the church or anything, is because that's what we knew, that they were just trying to do the best that they could. Well, and then I was putting everything on the church, and all my hardships, I just put it out on a shelf. And now that I've like discovered for me, it's not for me, I'm like, oh, I have to like figure this shit out on my own, kinda. Like, nobody is coming to save me. Jesus is. Like, okay, cool, I can put it with him, but at the same time, like, I need to figure this stuff out, Yeah. And I think that's why having a good support system, having a spouse that's willing to try to look at your heart and try to understand, and having kids and having a family, like, you guys are my why. You guys are what keep me grounded and what keep me going. Otherwise, like, I don't know what else the hell. Like, I have friends and family I love, but like, your guys are reason enough for me to keep living and to be here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And hopefully we can spread light and love to people. And I think that is what this freaking world needs more than anything right now. There's so much crazy going on that I think everybody's in a state of overwhelm. And I think with COVID happening and now that going away, and now there's rumors of war and all this bull crap, and it's so easy to get lost into it that take a little time for you. It's okay. Yeah. Look inside. How can you make a difference? How can you make the world a better place? Yeah. I don't know.
No, I love it.
I'm off my pedestal now.
Thanks for sharing. I like that. Yeah, I think that that's really what it comes down to for me, is with everything and these questions, is the way that I take it is I want everybody to be able to be them, whether that's past people or present.
Yeah.
And their choices are their choices. And my choice is to take that information and do what I want with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
And so yeah, some of the stuff was hard. You're like, oh, some things that you thought people on a pedestal. Oh,
it's called,
they're human too.
Hero worship was the term I was trying to come up with. But yeah, we.
But the thing to me is, I'm like, okay, let's take that. I just try and say, okay, let me just take all of that away.
Yeah.
Let's just say that I take all of that away. How do I feel about what's in front of me here?
Yeah.
And that's where I strive to live. Is this information that I have here, does this feel good, and does this bring me to Christ? No matter how it got to me.
Yeah.
No matter how this information has been posed to me.
Yeah.
Does it feel good? Does it bring me closer to Christ? Does it make me feel like I want to be a better human and progress in this way?
Yeah.
And that's where I go. And some days it's hard because I have to revamp, because I have to relearn that, duh.
Yeah.
There's not just one way to Christ. There's not one. I mean, we call it the straight and narrow. I might sound dumb, but there is a straight and narrow, right? Okay. But also, not everybody works that way.
Yeah.
How are we? This is a test.
Yeah.
We believe, even you, right? Like, you still believe,
I think
that
life
we're
is
here.
just hard.
We're here
sometimes.
to learn. We're here to learn.
Sure.
And so we're not here to be perfect.
I think
we're not here to understand everything.
Yeah.
And we're here to just progress.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's where I keep my faith. So if I'm feeling like it's a progression, that's where I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah, progress.
Personally.
And progress is usually uncomfortable.
For sure. Oh, I hate it.
Sucks.
I just want to be comfortable.
It friggin' sucks. But I think my message, like this keeps coming to me lately, is at least for me, I think we all have our little messages that we're supposed to be working on, right? Or things that we need to keep in mind. And mine is like, dude, enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. It's freaking hard sometimes.
Yeah.
But you do what you can to make the best of it.
Yeah.
That's it. I think that's some of our biggest challenge in life.
Yeah.
I think we just take things too serious sometimes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I really do. I think
agree.
we spend too much time worrying about shit that just doesn't freaking really. At the end of the day, you're not going to remember tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, or in 6 months from now.
Yeah.
And so how can you like? Sorry, go ahead.
I think that's with what you're saying. You're struggling because it's such doomsday out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
And I just have to keep coming back to I cannot control out there.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can do my best to like help the situation that it can reach me or that I can reach to.
Yeah.
But I can't control the world.
Yeah.
So all I can do is go inward and control here and control my thoughts and how I respond. And that's
100%.
it. That's all I can control. And so when I'm looking at all this doomsday stuff, I don't watch the news. I don't.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds totally ignorant, but I just know that that's a boundary that I'm just like,
They're all half of them are full of shit anyway.
yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Well, because they all have an agenda.
Yeah, right.
Everybody has their agenda.
Yeah.
So to me, I just have to step back and claim ignorance, I guess. I don't know, because it's not helping me
Yeah.
to stress about things that I can't control. And so I just look in and say, oh, things are kind of crazy. What can I do here to be safe?
Yeah.
Be healthy, be well in general.
Yeah. Well, it feels like there's this power out there, right? Like I agree with you. I love that you said that. I think most people are good. I really believe that.
I do too.
And we all
they're
want
just trying to do their best.
Totally. And I don't think anybody wants war, and I don't think anybody wants fighting, and I don't think anybody wants conflict. We just want to enjoy our lives. We just want to be safe and experience life, right? Like that.
Yeah.
We want to go to work, some of us, and we want to have a safe family. We want good health, and we want to live as long as we possibly can in the happiest state that we can possibly live in. And it seems like there's this adversarial power or darkness that is just like constantly trying to divide all of us. And people on both sides of whatever politics you're on or whatever spiritual thing you're on, everybody feels it. And everybody feels this polarization of just this crazy energy that's just like constant. It is this constant, like, I think part of the reason people have a hard time with mainstream media is not because they're totally full of crap, but it feels so divisive. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't jive with our souls, with who we are.
Well,
I told Jack the other day, I'm like, so it's International Women's Day this week, right? I have more women in my life. I have one brother and like, let's see, how many sisters? Kayla, Allison, Jessica, Olivia, Reese. 5 sisters and 1 brother. I was raised basically by a mom anyway, we've talked about it. I love women. I respect women. Joe Biden gives an award this week to an Argentine transgender woman. And I told Jack, I'm like, that feels polarizing, right? Like things are crazy. Like, I'm sure there's so many like negative and positive feelings that get tied to that with everybody in the world. That like you have your Christians that are just like and your woke people that are just like yeah. And I'm just like, listen, like however you feel in your life, the Bible I think talks about this so much is don't judge, just love, because we can't understand the experience. We speak perspective, right? Like Steph Linder said, that was her line, right? On our Democrat and Republican conversation, and I'm just like, love everybody. Don't get caught up in the stuff that divides us, because there's not a peace there. There's something dark and wrong there. And I think we have to get clear, especially today, on like what feels right and what feels wrong. And there are some crucial conversations that need to be had, and some hard conversations that need to be had, I think, from our leaders and from people in charge of our country at this time in the world. It's nuts, right? But I think if we need to not get divided, we need to stay together. There's power in that.
Well, and it's okay to have a different opinion.
Yes.
At this point, we're like, you have a different opinion in it, and you're wrong and that's it.
What was Kyle's
And
two
so
axioms that he talked? I think he talked about it on here, but then he talked about it at class. There's two axioms or two things that are just true no matter what. Oh, there's a lot more than that. Sorry.
Yeah.
But that are indisputable. Like axioms are things that are basically indisputable, right?
Yeah.
That just are what they are, and everybody can kind of agree on them. One, everybody's different.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't two that everybody has a different opinion?
Something like that.
Are you looking it up?
I'm gonna try and see if I can.
We all
find
have
it.
different thoughts and beliefs and perspectives, and I think like you were saying, you the reason like we were able to make it work is because you tried to put yourself in my shoes and how I might feel, and I think that's how we understand and how we can grow as a society is like, hey, I was taught and raised not to agree with any of this. But it doesn't, none of this feels good, and I don't like the negative feelings that I'm having. So how can I fix this? And those are the kinds of conversations that we need to be having with ourselves, and I think with people that we care about and love. And it's so easy to put up walls that aren't totally helpful or necessary. You know what I mean? That just do block out bad vibes and or growth in relationships.
Yeah. I can't find it.
No one knows everything.
yeah.
People are different.
There
Those
you
are the
go.
two.
Yep.
Amen to that.
Right?
You know, and of course I would have loved to see like, you know, it's a complicated topic, but I'm not Jill Biden and I'm not the one giving out the freaking award, but I can say, hey, I honor my mom. I honor the women in my life today. I honor my wife. I have 2 daughters of my own and I have 2 sons, and they all bring great blessings to me in totally different ways.
Yeah. And I don't even think that, I don't know, because this is my progression coming out. Okay. So I don't think that it's necessarily wrong for the transgender to get the award, because we're here to learn, and maybe there's a lesson that they cannot learn unless they go through this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And if that was given to be
right.
bring
think
divide,
it's wrong.
shame on them, and don't let it divide us. Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. I'm just in a spot where I can't judge because I don't know.
I don't understand a lot of things.
And I don't.
But if we can seek to understand, I think that's
exactly
massive,
it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And so I don't need to worry about that.
Yeah.
That's not even for me to even worry about. And you are beautiful. And I'm sorry for any like heartaches that you have to go through in this whole situation.
Yeah.
But I love you and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because we all have something that we have to go through to learn the lessons that we need to learn. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
So it's not
there's
for me
definitely
to sit
things
and
that
judge
that I would like to, you know, like, I don't know, that's a whole other topic. I think there's a right and a wrong, and there's an age for certain conversations, and I think that there needs to be an update in our education system in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring up the whole identity crisis thing, and none of us, there's a lot of people I think that are just not self-aware internally or externally, and then you have these kids being raised by parents that aren't, and then an education system that doesn't give a crap, and they're lost for sure. And so I think there needs to be more of that. You know, who are you?
I don't even know if the education doesn't give a crap. I think that their hands are tied.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably better said.
You know what I mean? It's like
Totally.
we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. So it's hard to.
But I think there's people pushing an
do.
evil agenda. Like,
For
I
sure.
don't know. I don't want there's certain things that we've even talked about this with our kids, and just certain movies that we don't want them watching. Like, let them keep their innocence and let them be a kid for as long as possible. It's hard enough to be an adult. Why put more on them at a younger age? Yeah, there's conversations that we might have to have a little bit younger now that you and I didn't have till we were older, but still, like, let kids be kids, man.
Mm-hmm.
Let them be a kid. Let them run free, you know? We were watching some family videos, and I'm like, man, I was, like, so carefree at that time. That was such a good time of life. Like, man, why can't I just be a kid again and just go run around? And if we didn't have any money, I didn't know. I didn't care. It wouldn't matter. Like, we just had fun. Like, life was good, you know? And I think we kind of get lost along the journey somewhere of just...
In the responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost in the mud sometimes, but anyway.
Yeah. The last question though that they asked, they just said, "Where's her testimony now?" And I just claim progression. I don't see things 100% black and white.
Yeah.
I just don't. And I just try and follow what feels right. and go with it. And I think that that's just going to be my MO from here on out, because some days, some things don't feel right. And even at church for me, sometimes I'm like, ooh, could have said that differently,
Sure.
Knowing and being on the outside. But again, I go back to, but they haven't been through what I've been through, or know the things that I know, or, does that make sense? So then I look back into myself and try to understand them again. Like I've said it a million times, seek first to understand is my mantra for the rest of my life, I guess, at this point, because then I can say, oh yeah. And remember, it's not all about me. It's not, I have things that I need to learn. And so my life is for me to learn and progress from, and not for them.
Yeah.
And so that's how I take it on, and I'm okay, and life is still good, and I can still be me, because I've got to be unapologetically me too. Right?
Yeah, totally.
And so, but I can also say that these are my beliefs, and say it, and this is how I feel.
Yeah.
And I don't have to push that on you.
Yeah.
So.
Love it.
Or on anybody.
Yeah.
So that's where I am.
You're awesome.
I don't know if that's going to answer the question to suffice your, what you were asking, but that's my truth, if you will.
Yeah, and I think the reason we haven't gotten into all the different issues, I could name off a handful of things that I'm just like, I don't like this and I don't like this, but guess what? There's a lot of other podcasts that do that, and
we don't need to do that.
The church is so easy to, like, religion in general, it takes a bad enough rap as it is, and gets crapped on enough as it is, and it's so easy to attack that, and it doesn't bring me joy, and it doesn't bring me peace, and it doesn't help me. And for me, in my mind, it kind of is taking me back into the grief cycle of the early stages of, like, anger. And I don't want to live my life there. It doesn't bring me peace, and I don't feel good there. Yeah. So guess what? Moving on to the next step.
Yeah. So we did, out of, like, we want to make sure that we're talking about the things that you guys want to hear. Yeah. And so and maybe out of respect, we want to talk about it. That's great. We don't want to pinpoint specifics, because...
If we ever did it, I'll say this. I'm not going to say never, because I would actually love to get Jacob Hansen on here, who's extremely smart, and get opposing views and just have the conversation if people are interested in it. That could be a really fun, crazy conversation. But to be honest, I kind of got to go freshen up on my discussion skills with that, because I've just spent more time on just. But again, self-improvement, and
I don't think that would be like
things that are more important to me. Pointing and
demeaning. It would be, here's how this is hard, and here's how
I would just here's two perspectives. Here's the believing side, and here's the unbelieving side. It can be. There are some good podcasts that do that, and I think Jacob's, honestly, his kind of does that. So he could be a good resource. But anyway, a great resource. But still listen to us too. Yeah. Just kidding. If you want to feel lost, hopefully this have brought some help to people. But we love you guys. Anyway, thanks for listening.
I love you.
Love you most.